Introduction of Renascence, a book of verse by Walter Crane. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Introduction read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. To M.F.C. This sheaf that I have bound of mingled grain Beneath the noon to give a spot of shade, where might we sit and mark, before they fade, The fleeting lights across life's dappled plain, Ere with its treasured had time's rolling wane Piled up with memories and thoughts unsaid, With hopes and fears in trembling leaf and blade, Turns sunward where the harvest home is made. Perchance the tangled stems some flowers enfold, Not all unmeet the brows of her to wreath, Who with me bore the burden of the morn. If yet the scarlet please not on the corn, Love's blue is steadfast, and thy name in gold Is writ by Love's wing feather underneath. Of the poems in this book, the whole of those included in Part I are now printed for the first time. Of the rest, the Sirens Three, Thoughts in a Hammock, A Herald of Spring, and the Rondeau Across the Fields, all appeared with designs of mine as decorative pages in the English Illustrated Magazine, the Sirens Three being afterwards issued with the illustrations in book form by Messrs. Macmillan and Company, whom I have to thank for permission to reprint it with the others here. Flora's Feast, with colored designs of flowers to each couplet, has been published as a Christmas book by Messrs. Cassell and Company, at whose consent it reappears. I regret there should have been any delay in the appearance of the book, which has been owing to the illness of the engraver who had charge of some of the blocks. Walter Crane, April 1891. End of introduction. Part I. Earlier Poems. Invocation by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. O soul of souls, awake! Lift up thine eyes to meet the dayspring, till their sphered skies Flash answering light to pierce the clinging veil Of mists and shadows of the night grown pale. Renascent, leave the tombment of thy bed, Though rich with painted love of legend dead, And gilded with the gold of hallowed time, And dim with dreams and darkness of the prime. O joy of man! Arise, behold time brings Deliverance for thee, and thought's swift wings Are dyed afresh in iris hues of hope, Who paints for thee, by her creative scope, New heaven in earth renewed before thy sight, With golden fields unreaped and fresh delight Of flower and fruit of no forbidden tree, Where life is love, and blooms sweet liberty. O bride of light! Like Aphrodite rise From rosy waves of morn that crystallize Thy sacred image in their mirror, smooth As sculpture of the shining limbs they soothe, And clothe thyself in pureness like the sun, With lily lawn and blue of heaven spun From spotless fields of interstellar space, A seamless shrine to keep thy inward grace. Put on thy broidered robe, thy bride's attire, Put on thy glory and the jewel fire Of fearless thought, nor let thine handmaid spare All grateful tribute from the sweet and fair, To deck thy loveliness, and make appear The fullness of the beauty thou dost wear. But let no crown thy golden head dethrone, Except the coronal of wisdom's own. Fare forth, fair bride, and from thy chamber come. Lo, they are waiting who shall lead thee home, The winged procession of the eager hours, Before thy feet to pave the way with flowers. The daughters of the year, the seasons four, Have decked the happy earth with sun and shower. Each joyful mouth, each blissful day is swift To bring unto thy feet its treasured gift. The sisters three, who plough and sow and reap, Still gather thee time's grain in growing heap, From golden age to golden age to be. Their dreamful faces wrapped in prophecy Of veiled futurity's potential hour, Where fate prepareth thine immortal dower. Arise, sweet soul, arise and take thy throne Upbuilt in ages long by stone on stone. The human spirits still aspiring stare, Whose marble feet were laid in toil and care, And washed with tears, and worn in eager quest Of false and fleeting phantoms, seeking rest. But now thy feet are fledged, and would aspire To climb the summit of thy hope's desire, High where in sculptured walls and towers rise Her architecture, white in azure skies, Tinged with the fire of dawn above thy head. Ah, there, fair soul, thy marriage feast is spread. And there, with wisdom still, and knowledge clear, Sweet counsel shalt thou take, and without fear, For love will give thee law, and love shall be Thy chancellor and rule equality. No sceptre shall thy white right hand e'er hold But sacred freedom, brighter than the gold Of kingships, and blessing by the power That crowns life's magic staff with bud and flower. Nor be thy sister hand forgotten, soul, The while her slender fingers do control The world's large heart, and in its compass found The wealth of all the universe embound. And thou shalt open the eternal reign Of justice, while fair peace with all her train Shall sow the earth with blessings, and impart New joy and skill to men in craft and art, To gather from all the shores the scattered gems With beauty's pearls to deck thought's diadems. And poesy shall fill thy courts with song, And commonwealth the ocean gateways throng With white winged messengers from all the lands, And tidings glad shall join the nations' hands, From riches and from penury set free, And from the last dread link of slavery, And eke from tyrant sword and tyrant gold, And priestly nightmare that the soul doth fold. There giant Labor, in his strength new found, Rejoicing shall go forth to break new ground. One brotherhood with art and knowledge clear, To bridge the gulf of space and bring men near, With fruitful brain and hand to bring new birth Of Titan forces to subdue the earth, And from the willing hands of Nature draw New benefits, and owning but her law, Out of her treasury things tried and true, In human faith and hope to build anew Man's shattered house, and paint his storied wall, For life and love a heritage for all. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 2 of Renascence, a Book of Verse by Walter Crane. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The City of Love. About the time when garlanded green May at summer's threshold casts her blossom crown, Time bore me on his winged wheels away Out of the joyless city where I lay, From smoke-dimmed streets whose dusky skies disown the day God's glorious face, serene that shows this day of days, To reign in his fair house, cloud-built and white and interspaced with blue, Above the green earth's fields that I did pass, Bearing ungathered harvests in their grass Of star-bright flowers, and every magic hue Born of the hours, and of the kindling zone Sun-cast, o'er wandering mead and upland lone, That now on every hand mine eyes did fill, As went the wheel whirled with the fiery will. And always, as the changeful landscape spread Mead beyond mead, and furrowed ridge and tree, And traversed road and bridge and woodland lea, Me seemed as a chart my life to see, What was and is, and that which is to be, As dark and bright the region's face I read. Nor yet I stayed at all, but still with time Fled by, and onward many leagues, until About the height of day the wheel was still, About the hour it was ere noon should chime, And I looked forth and saw dim-pointed spires, Like flames arising from a golden mead, Which burned with all the yellow crowded fires Of shining cups that fill the fields of May, Where by a city fair mine eyes had heed, verged round with bowery close, and willows grey, shading the silent water's secret way, girdling the quiet town with clustered reed. Thence rose no surge of men or sound of strife, but smoothly glowed the even hours of life, tolled by the sweet-tongued bells in tuneful towers, and in the streets there moved the breath of flowers, and incense such as riseth after showers upon deep gardens, hiding in their bowers the inmost heart of sweetness. Still my way drew on between high-windowed walls and old, that to the street an ancient story told, with solemn mien unto life's changing day, in restless ebb and flow, as sea waves play about the feet of lonely cliffs, though now even these I passed as fleeting things in vain, for all my heart a strange consuming pain possessed, in thought of what I hoped to gain, filled with an exquisite fire, wherein did show all things as dross, or gold of fairest vein, as since the gate of love had oped for me, I lived in hell or heavenly ecstasy. But all things on this day had good import, for even now I went to love's high court, to greet my heart's dear queen, where she did dwell in this his holy city, where the streets seem gold, or like the burnished path which meets the sun's bright porch across the shining sea. So in love's glory shone my way to me, until before her gate the splendor fell. Robed in sweet grace and crowned with her hair, I met my queen upon her palace stair, and near I was to fall and worship there, as to her hand I brought a golden gift, which she, my gracious sovereign, counted well, and me unto her highest grace did lift, making me rich above all kingly state. For side by side within her house we sat, or 'neath the azure canopy of heaven, and every hour and every day of 7 brought unto our feet their separate joy, and every day the plenteous feast was spread before my grateful heart, and eyes and lips that drank the wine of love and broke his bread, and drew my soul delight through honey sips from the sweet source of sweet which may not cloy. Then from love's banquet rising, my beloved forth led me in the bond of her dear hand, that we in his glad courts might understand fresh joyance, and through all his realm we moved, adown the golden street my lady led, where passed us to and fro love's votaries, the searchers of his book, within whose eyes was writ his name, and whose chanting lips had said his prayers, and orisons within the shrines, dim-windowed, strange, and still with sacred air, stirred by the wings of singing spirits fair, when the sweet anthem lifteth or declines in organ waves that sweep along the lines of the soul's shore, to break upon and die soft on the soothed borders silently. We passed by the door and entered in, for in love's holy place we sought to win high ecstasy, whereon our souls might climb, even to the utmost gate of golden bliss, and know within the sanctuary of this our dear inheritance in God's good time. Love's service done, forth streamed from their place his choristers and singing boys attired in white raiment, shining where they choired. And after them we went with silent pace, and towards the groves of pleasure turned our face, whence by green quietude of cloistered stone and shadowed courts that kept themselves alone, and 'neath the carven boughs that interlace, until we came beneath the fairer roof of curtained leaves, light spread of greenest woof, glowing between the stony window fret, as shines such light of paradise men get, dark barred by care which holdeth them aloof, and binds their souls within life's twisted net. But entered we the joyful Eden gate, where talk the trees of summer and of green, more glorious than May's bright head doth screen, whereas she hideth from the flaming state, when the all-regal sun would penetrate, seeking dominion in the realm of shade, where now we thought to find sweet pleasure laid, and take her sleeping while the hour should wait. Yea, hidden in the odorous isles of May, whose fragrance fans the air, which faints away, there in a labyrinth of leaves I caught her, whereby soft willows kiss the silent water. I caught her and I kissed, though she did pray release, and said, Thou canst not hold Time's daughter. But her I held, nor let her thence depart till I had won her favourable grace. And after oft we saw her fleeting face laugh through the leaves, and in our kindled heart were glad exceedingly, nor thought to part, content a little while in each fair place, to know us sweet above all flowery space. My faint tongue faltereth when I would tell what doors of joy we passed, what sights to seek, but love's day endeth, and his holy week, whose dear appointed feasts we kept full well, seeking love's face at morn and eventide, though oft it was too bright to look upon, shining above the splendour of the sun, a burning flame when day's dim fire had died. And now the last of days it came to pass, I with my love upon a space of grass sat by a water which the willows kept, and silently the stream beneath them swept, secret as time, and still, and staying not. Fair fell the sun through glancing leaves above, and fair on us did shine the sun of love. As one brief hour together we forgot all earthly things in that enchanted plot, the world of strife and evil favoured care, and misery whose voice was silent there. Even so, a little while, our blissful lot. A little while, but soon the end befell, for time a sudden shadow on us fell, and loud above I heard his hateful bell clang in the tower to ring our sweet day's knell. Thence was I torn from my dear love away, and as a dream I lost upon that day my hold of joy, and slipped adown, adown. Nor knew I more until I woke again unto the endless world with all its pain, the sea-wide city and the sad refrain of hungry waves that now my song would drown. End of section 2. Section 3 of Renascence, a book of verse by Walter Crane. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The House of Dreams. I sat in my soul's house one day, the world-wide book before me lay, and in mine eyes, as through a glass, the colours of all things did pass, and thought and life in mingled stream, strange semblance showed as in a dream. My soul's still house lies hid in trees, and sitting in its porch, one sees before the feet a garden green, amidst a wild and dark demesne, when sight may range by lea and lawn, from sunset to the gate of dawn, till through the utmost wood may be descried a dim and dreadful sea. 5 gates it hath, 5 porches fair, that know bright guests of light and air, and through the windows, clear and high, the winged thoughts come from earth and sky, that show me things by shore and sea, and visions high of things to be. Anigh the house a water clear, born of some secret crystal mere, among the mountains of the land, and flowing to the dim sea strand, but still and silent in its pace, that in its smooth translucent face bright image flashed of many a thing and folk that passed in wandering, with colours fresh of tree and flower. Here kept my soul a secret bower, and in the garden all the year one plied his craft of gardener, nor slept between the moon and sun, nor ever was his labour done. For this was Time, who told my hours, and gave and took away my flowers. And one beside him fed a fire with listless hands, whose whole desire was not therein, but far away she watched an ever-dying day. She smiled sometimes, and oft she wept, but through her tears her watch she kept. Time brought her flowers, she cast the same to feed the hungering tongues of flame. Yea, all men know the dreadful dame, pale Memory, ye read her name. In my soul's house always to be dwelt spirits 5 for company, and fair they were in form and face, and well my soul's white house did grace. For one the chambers garnished fit with boughs and flowers, and them she lit by night and day, for she was sight, and ruled all my soul's delight. Her sister to my table bare sweet pleasure of earth's fruits and rare, as every season brought its meed, or ever as my soul had need. Another made sweet incense rise from out a censer in such wise that mingled sweet of every kind, and let the slender smoke enwind the pillars of the roof, and send the pleasant mist from end to end. The while another yet of these, with music soft my soul would please, to every thought in every mood she made her tuneful interlude. She touched the strings, she ruled the lute, and many a soft harmonious flute that mocked the birds in leafy choir. But oft this spirit would aspire to lift the solemn organ's voice, and this would be her dearest choice, till with its deeper soul imbued my soul forgot its solitude. Yet one there was, both dumb and blind, who yet was wise in every kind, and many a thing her hand could teach, in silent service serving each. These watched the house and kept it fair, as each its several part had care. Thus sat my soul and talked with these in its white porch among the trees, and each brought word what she had seen of all that range, that region green. For many folk passed to and fro, as flew the hours, or footed slow. One came in garment green and pale, across the hill, adown the dale, and blossoms in her hand she bore. A swallow skimmed her path before, it was a herald bright of spring, and this the song that she did sing. There fell a day of sun and shower, spring stirred within her leafless bower. She sent me from her wintry home, go forth and tell the world I come. Beneath the windows of the dawn I took my way by lake and lawn. I saw of flowers the firstling born, I gathered of the flowering thorn. And from the dale and from the down I passed into the sleeping town, along the stony streets to spill my flowers by door and window sill. But they were like the eyes of men, sleep-locked, though some were open then. I saw within a darkened room an old man lying in the gloom. He saw my flowers, and then he sighed, and turned upon his bed and died. I took my way with soundless feet, but none I met my steps to greet, save when a wakeful babe me spied, and stretched his dimpled arms and cried. They hushed his voice, nor knew his will. I left the city sleeping still. She ceased her song, and there was hush, as after when the tuneful thrush hath warbled clear, the wood is still, ere yet again the choir sings shrill for very joy. And then I heard among the grass Time grind and gird upon his blade. He stooped to slay, and soon before his feet there lay the fallen emblems of the hours, a harvest sheaf of spring's first flowers, which she beside him gathering flung into the fire the while they sung, and thus I heard their voices chime. The song of memory and time. Time, springtide come and winter going, flower to seed and seed to sowing, seed and harvest, reaping, mowing. Memory, life beginning and life ending, life his substance ever spending, time to life his little lending. Time, hark, the winged winds are calling, clouds the young year's path appalling, blooms of spring like snow are falling. Memory, snows of spring, green earth bestrewing, wasted hopes must I be ruing, spring of life there's no renewing. And after these had ceased their song, a company there passed along, in divers weed and changeful mien, and glad or sad athwart my green, their fluttering robes of dark or pale, like leaves adrift on autumn gale, and they like shadows o'er the grass before my porch did singly pass. But through the house their voices rang, tune-tongued like bells, as thus they sang. Song of the Hours. Between the gates of night and morn, with sleepless hands and sleepless eyes, we watch the sun and moon outworn, the silent stars that sink and rise. In hidden chambers of the night, the thread of fate we sit and spin, through death and life in dark and light, from life's slim staff to wind and win. With jointed hands and parting feet, the work is wove and still undone, but still we tread time's measure fleet, as through the glass the sand is spun. With linked hands and feet that wind between the pillars of the day, around the house the garland bind, for spring hath come, we cannot stay. They passed, a change came o'er the sky, I heard a shout, I heard a cry, a horn's far sound, the woods awoke, and sudden from the thicket broke in my soul's sight a thing of flame, and after swift a horseman came, a youth intent upon the chase, but ever as he urged his pace, one laid her hands upon his rein, and from that end would him restrain, while did the stirring horn resound, and in the leash each panting hound pressed hard to slip the tightened chain. What would that eager hunter gain? Some magic thing whose form and hue still changed as he did close pursue? A flame, a bubble of the air, a woman marvellously fair? Yea, every shape it hath in turn that makes man's troubled soul to burn, and doth his baffled sight elude to leave the world a solitude. Again the sounding horn did bray, the hounds were slipped and broke away, and swift throughout the close they sped, still as the changeful quarry led, till far beyond the open green they flashed the forest stems between, and soon were lost in night of wood. Again I heard time's interlude. Time, whence the way and whither wending, seeks hot youth till eld descending, leaves unread the secret pending. What is life? Truth answers never. Darkly flows the secret river, but its springs are hid forever. What is truth? Man's long endeavor finds the web, but not the weaver, sleeps the riddle none may sever. As it was in time's beginning, then as now while fate is spinning, man her clue would still be winning. My soul knew rest no more that day. I heard time's voice sink far away, and long did muse till light was gone, still sitting in my porch alone. Strange thoughts like flashes went and came, and dreams of love and hopes of fame, with dim desires that inly burned, dead hopes that rose again and yearned to follow still that unknown quest, and failing fluttered back to rest. Then had my soul a vision strange, as far in spirit did I range, and I beheld a far dim plain dyed in day's last Tyrian stain. And through its dark and desert ground a gleaming vein of water wound, where lonely piles of ruin old loomed vast, with hollow chambers cold, where horror dwelt with night and death, and filled they were with ghostly breath. But there amid the gathering glooms, among the temples and the tombs, one wandered in a pilgrim's guise, who fixed afar his wistful eyes. His footsteps kept the river's side. A glowing lamp his feet did guide, that shone upon that desert's dearth, as like a star there fall'n to earth. And moving through the twilight dim, by shattered arch and column slim, with staff and scrip he kept his way among those wrecks of ancient day. Far, far upon that desert land, half buried in her grave of sand, the ancient head of Egypt rose, and still sublime in death's repose, great Memnon kept his awful throne, outwatching day and night alone. And where the Greek laid stone on stone, the faces of his gods were shown, when to the world a youth there came, fair wisdom, power, and beauty's dame. Here not Pallas had his choice, but Aphrodite won his voice. The crumbling strength of mighty Rome, her grave, her cradle, and her home, there stood the emblems of her reign, the arch that would the world sustain, and still does span in legioned range the gulf of time, the waves of change. Long stood the pilgrim here at gaze, as lost in thought of antique days, as far his searching eyes could scan beneath the age-worn arches span. He marked each age's builded pile loom dimly down the endless aisle, where shone the winding water's thread, a wandering life among the dead, until his sight no more could trace its coursers from their hidden place, wrapped in the clinging mists that shroud the trackless mountains dim with cloud. But still his spirit found no home beneath the broad eternal dome. At last the pilgrim turned and sighed, nor stayed he where a cross beside marked how a greater power and pride did conquer Rome, and still doth bide. Full many a stone about that ground made stumbling, but of flowers were found none, save the sanguined poppy's hue, between still sleep and death that grew. The pilgrim stayed for sleep nor rest, as bent upon some hidden quest, nor turned he from his painful way, where folk made feast and holiday beneath fair vines and fruited trees, as pipe and dance and song them please. He seemed the world of men to shun, and joyed when he a wood had won, sweet, cloistered, green, and roofed above, where soft he heard the wooing dove, and sound of wandering water near. He drank its crystal cup and clear, and kept his path beside the stream, till he beheld white pillars gleam. He passed from green to blossomed boughs that compassed fair a secret house. Still music drew him to the door, swift beat his heart, and trembling more, he entered to a gold dim space, flame lit before an altar dais. Rose garlanded, most fair and meet, and all the air was still and sweet, but over these in fairer case shone the clear semblance of a face. He knelt before that altar stone, the anthem soothed his heart's faint tone, and seraph voices high and soft in measured cadence choired aloft, or sailed in tempest gusts of sound when passion's music shook the ground. Filled was the pilgrim's soul and bowed, till in his stress he cried aloud, "O love, this is thy holy place. Give me, I pray, my lady's grace." End of section 3. Section 4 of Renascence, a book of verse by Walter Crane. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Love's Labyrinth. When summer reigned in leafy sheen, I found me in a garden green, deep hidden from the sun's gold edge, beneath a rose-hung thorny hedge, upon a space of cool fair grass, whereon not yet the scythe should pass, though in the meadows was it laid, where time was stooping in the shade, as foot by foot with measured sweep his engine cleft the grassy deep. And thence fresh fragrance wafted sweet the smell of roses blown to meet, mixed in the drowsed air, and stole in slumber to my dreamful soul. Full long I lay in leafy lair, until upon the murmurous air one murmur grew with deepening note, and soon my sleeping ear it smote, and woke a trouble in my breast, a joyful pain more sweet than rest. Like as the voice of plaining strings, when magic hands the music brings out of the viol's soul in sound, that hath a power, when speech is bound, to lift the whirlwind and the wail of passion's tempest, and the veil of dumb desires and hopes that cry until the strong winds sinking die. Though still the wrought waves strike the shore, above them shrill a voice dost soar, or with the soft gale falling low, to lull the soul sings sweet and slow, and folds the fluttering wings of peace. So thrilled that music through the trees, the leaves were stirred upon the boughs, the petals shaken from a rose, as though a spirit moved anear. Then from the hedge a voice broke clear. O time, thy dials stay, and lend to love thy little day, and make him free of thy domain, and thou shalt not have less of gain, for he must pay thee back again in penal hours of longing pain. O time, thy labours stay between the sun and moon to-day. Tell not thy hours of morn and noon, lest they should find us swift and soon to steal from us our secret joy, and give us to the world's annoy. Let love be king in hour and place, and give thy garden for his chase. Set all with lilies fair and white, and roses for his heart's delight, both red and crimson dark, and pale like snow that hidden fire doth veil. Yea, give them on their thorny stem before thy breath shalt shatter them, that chaplets love may bind for those who wander in his tangled clothes. Time, ceasing not his toil, far heard, gave back to Love this answering word. Love, to Time dost thou come suing? Love, with all thy debt accruing? Time can give thee no renewing. Ask the hearts thy sceptre schooleth, seek the kings thy kingship ruleth. Who is he that Time befooleth? Rest thee, love, in thine own city, but of my dominion quit ye. Time is hard and hath no pity. Erst for king didst thou disown me, wouldst thou o'er thy kingdom crown me? Thee I serve when thou hast won me. Slave and servant, no man's master, they who will me slow or faster, urge me to their own disaster. Lo, this garden for thy going, fair and sweet, life blooms in growing, gather, ere its leaves be strowing. Hive thy honey, sweet bestowing, take life's apples, red and glowing, ere they fall to earth unknowing. Days and hours perforce Time gives thee by the sun's swift wheel that drives ye. Rest you merry, Time survives thee. His shadow passed, his voice had died, and from the rosy covert side, clear shining in his goodly head, Love to my soul came forth and said, Arise, O soul, and go with me, and thou shalt read my book, and see things hidden from the wise, and know the height of joy, the depth of woe, and hear the seas of passion roll, and scan the dim, strange human scroll, the writing of its speechless lore, and poesy's unfathomed store, the mystic birth of song and art in painted chambers of the heart, love's histories of bliss and strife, and woven mysteries of life, yea, all that in love's house do dwell, between the doors of heaven and hell. Now in this garden lay apart a space contrived with cunning art, where whoso entered at its gate might choose of pleasant paths and straight, green walled in privet, rose and yew, anon that interlaced and drew the wildered wight still to and fro, who wist not if to turn or go amid the close entangled ways, where oft for his yet more amaze soft voices wandering called his name, and through the leaves sweet music came, clear faces showed like sudden light to vanish from his longing sight, ere he might hope of help to win the secret bliss hid far within. Few 'scape from out that pleasaunce whole, few gain the inmost golden goal. Full many wander there forlorn, or come out thence sore wounded, torn, to weep their wasted lives forspent. Thither by love my soul was bent. Soon in the green maze, sweet and still, I heard the brown and blackbird trill, where linked lanes and alleys through Love led me by his secret clue, and oft the scented briar would cling, or in the hedge some fluttering thing shake soft adown a summer snow of roses bloom in overblow among the leaves all fair bedight, and pranked with buds of red and white. But still by these Love's footsteps led, dim paths before him turned and fled. Full oft some sweet or anguished face would part the leaves to seek his grace, for many folk did wander there, both gleaming knights and dames most fair. And o'er the level hedge and trim fair showed in quaint attire and slim of samite, broidery, and brocade, as folk of passed time portrayed by cunning painters, skilled full well that mid so goodly sights did dwell. And there about the stems were hung sweet names and legends poets sung, y-wrought on scrolls and tablets fine, and bound with knots that true loves twine, and oft the lute's full tender strain amid the rose leaves made soft plain, as songs were heard in women's fame, that crowned singers sweet proclaim, prophets and kings of lyre and pen, who sound the hearts of silent men that hold their word as treasure trove in the immortal book of love. These all were past, and in a while love showed my soul a dim green aisle, and far at end a stone-built stair that led us from the woody lair, forth issuing through a night of trees to know anew the day's increase, and there a fragrant arbor found, with clinging jasmine close imbound. Soon in this leafy ambush set, love bade my soul look forth and let sight wonder at its might or will. Then saw I those that wandered still, lost in the green and covert ways, and all the secret of the maze. How there, as folks distraught, misled, sought lovers for their lover, who fled far from them, or unwitting passed the prisoning hedge that shut them fast. How oft their eyes met far amain in severed paths that kept them twain. How after toil and weary pace some met at last with shamefast face and silent lips, or coldly masked with wintry speech their hearts that asked for utterance, and leaped and cried, love's dear deliverance denied. Thereby great heaviness and pain had then my soul, and turned again to ask of him who stood beside what hope for these might yet betide. Clothed in his Godhead, strong he stood, he bent his bow above the wood, and swift the winged arrow left the quivering string. What heart it cleft my soul ne'er knew, for then the light of falling day dazed all my sight with splendor, as the level sun blazed in his gold pavilion, spun out of his rays, whose burning thread a glorious tapestry outspread, with all life's hues commingling blent. And ere the golden web was rent by darkness, love led me away, and passed about the end of day beneath the hanging umbrage dread, till grew in sight a summer stead, fair corniced, roofed, and pillared clean, closed in the midmost heart of green, and girt about with garlands round, clear built upon a pleasant ground, that gardened was, and set with flowers, which had the speech of love and powers. After that they are dead to keep sweet thoughts in heart and cherished deep. Also of mythic trees and rare, that grew in love's high region there, my soul did mark fair Daphne's leaf, the almond bloom for love and grief when Phyllis died, and Syrinx reed like sprung of legendary seed, the sun's broad flower that shows his flame and blooms in Clytie's sculptured fane. Amidst them fair and high up rose the carven images of those that wrought with men for good or ill, and gave good gifts and godlike skill, and reverence had upon the earth. Yea, still in all man's strife and mirth have part and glory, yet for him the mingled cup of life they brim, as gods who here love's lordship own, casting their crowns before his throne. Their marble image broken fell, where leaped a water from its well, gemmed in the green and grassy space before the pillars of the place, where now my soul love's travel brought. Soon trod we both the marble court, and passed into a painted hall, most goodly wrought on roof and wall with dreams and golden mysteries of love, and love's rich histories, wherein dumb thoughts of heart and brain took form and speech and breathed again. Natheless, ere we the end might win, was hung a veil, fine woven, thin, but through the veil a fire glowed dim, and faint heard music soft did swim, till out of vague and murmurous tone rose up a voice to take its throne. Last night my lady talked with me, as on a green hill I and she sat close, where erst alone I stood beneath the dusk-leaved ilex wood. The earth was gathered to her rest, sweet silence lay upon her breast, well nigh asleep, save that she heard the wandering waters' silver word. The sun had kissed the earth's dark lips, that grow so ruddy ere he dips, wine-coloured to his golden rim, as purple evening pours for him. Low stooped his head as he would drink, till out of sight we saw him sink, and with his splendour in our eyes, full orbed, we watched the great moon rise. Rose tinged in the dim sky shone she, like Venus from the opal sea, so grew her glory in our sight, till in her face we saw love's light in hers, like flame on flame. Yea, very love in presence came. Between the fires of moon and sun he stood like dawn ere night begun. Clear aureoled his golden head, his eyes our burning hearts well read, and in the sanctuary of my soul I won of love the golden goal. End of section 4. The Dividing Gulf by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org. A gulf divideth heaven and hell, whose depth no fathom line can tell. A gulf is fixed between two souls, as cold and deep, whichever rolls to hinder messengers of light, who else would wing in welcome flight with water from love's living spring, and peace to the tormented bring. But now if any will to pass from hence to thence, alas, alas, the gulf is fixed, they cannot go, and all unaided lie in woe, sad souls unto their succour near, and yet so far as though they were divided by an ocean plain. And so thoughts die within each brain that might in interchanging wed, and fruitfulness and plenty spread to clothe and crown the naked fields, and give them bread for barren yields that waste beneath a sunless sky, their empty ears or blighted die. But as when we have longed to greet some wished for one we never meet, their semblance still may please our eyes, their presence in our dreams arise. So though lone thoughts ne'er meet their kind, or meeting in the darkness blind, know not they meet, falls there no flash upon the waters wide that wash the silent shores of either mind, and both by sudden pathway find. Shines there no light we never sought on all the ways of toil and thought, a flash in momentary course, like lightning from an unseen source, that in the trembling of a star shows all world anear and far, when in a flood of flame intense the gulf is banished from our sense, and in one moment bridging space two spirits stand as face to face. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Valley of Deliverance by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org. 1. Sea blue infinitude of silent hills that fold like waves that crested are and smooth, the widespread veil that slowly eve instills, with misty lakes and all thy summits soothe. 2. In baths of amber light, where melt and merge the wandering purples into green and gold, athwart the slumbrous fields and moorland verge, or sailed by slow cloud shadows softly rolled. 3. With alternations new and grateful change of burning tones to cool and magic show, as oft the opalescent sea do range, or in the sun-built arch transfused do glow. 4. O silent hills, ye hold a meaning more than speech. Ye are not voiceless, O ye vales, but eloquent of time and treasured lore of memory, and filled with untold tales. 5. That well nigh dim my gazing eyes with tears, whereas they follow those familiar lines, dear as the features shaped by hopes and fears on friendship's face, oft read and sought for signs. 6. For dear to me the crags, the weather-worn, the slopes of green, the waving woodland towers, whose crested pageantry of leaves adorn the shadowed graves of faded summer hours. 7. Full well I know the belts of larch that fringe the dark verge of the lonely moor, which seems the limit of the world, touched with the tinge of dying light and burned with day's last beams. 8. And oft, as now I pressed the purple bloom, the heather-plumaged breast of this high moor, and heard, as now I hear, the wandering boom of these winged gleaners of the honeyed store. 9. O well-loved vale, for I am bound to thee by subtle threads of thought that memory weaves, yea, sitting in thy shadow, liberty, like dawn first knew I, opening life's leaves. 10. E'en then, when first I tasted of the tree, and day's spring of new knowledge touched mine eyes, that erst were sealed, as other books to me, until upon thy hills new light should rise. 11. Until my soul, new born, within this veil should learn of nature in her age-worn book, and strive beyond the starry void to scale the dim unknown, or in truth's glass to look. 12. On life and life's dark mystery, which broods and clings a shadow to the sad-eyed world, born in the horror of primeval woods, and in death's cloud impenetrable furled. 13. Beyond the gathering years, since first I knew thee, happy vale, my yearning spirit reads beyond night's mist on thy horizon blue, where glow day's embers ere the night succeeds. 14. The legends rich of unforgotten time, azure and white and grey enfolded days that long have passed away, until the chime of brief on lingering hours their restful ways. 15. And even now, clear imaged on my brain, their semblance comes again. I see them move in long procession, slow with joy or pain, enrobed with faces hid in eyes of doubt or love. 16. Until the day which died with yestern's sun begins to merge in that unending line, and soon her lingering sister will be one, for on her face the light has ceased to shine. 17. So pass the days with days unborn to die, and gather them to years in time's swift pace, but we would fain forecast futurity, or read fate's rune upon the sky's calm face. 18. And I could well believe that in the shade of this still vale the secret sign lies hid, the secret that shall shape my life unsaid, as in a casket treasured with close lid. 19. Mid fir woods dark, or tumbled crags unknown, or in brown deeps where swift the river flows, among tumultuous rocks, whence I have heard vague murmurings oft-times beneath the boughs. 20. But silence with her finger locks the lips, when stand we watching at Futura's gate, though eager thought would climb, and climbing slips, while all unwatched each hour doth carve our fate. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Unknown Shore by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org. 1. There is no voice, or answer from the unknown shore. Turn, turn again, there is no choice, but life or death, we know no more. 2. Yet thought in art and song awakes, still hope doth speak, and reason brings new light to men, and wisdom takes sweet comfort from most lowly things. 3. Have loveliness or glory fled? Hath love or beauty passed away? Is poesy or fancy dead when light returns with every day? 4. Sweet hope and beauty cannot die, enshrined as one in heaven's blue, and still eternal as the sky is good, and knowledge ever new. 5. And evermore rolls on the fight of good and evil by the sea, but on the waters falls a light from golden ages yet to be. 6. Hear how they cry from every side, the voices from the deepening strife. The fields are white, the world is wide. Arise, take heart, take hope, take life. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The West Wind by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Ezwa in Belgium in February 2017. Wild wind, thy tameless spirit lifts my mind. Thou, all night long, the troubled earth hast torn, and tossed the stormy trees until the morn, which struggles now unto its noon. Half blind with those wide locks which ye have cast across the face of heaven, scarcely showing through her eyes between, are still of steadfast blue, and still look calm above the woods ye toss. As they were wrathful waves of that green main from whence ye come, beyond the sunset's grave, to freshen on the sunburnt hills, and lave the summer-thirsty fields with the gracious rain. Hark, in the wood thy voice a lion roars! Beneath thy breath upon the parched hill, shudders the wasted grass and shrieketh shrill, as though it feared thee. But thy spirit soars to lash the fossil waves of hill and dale ye may not move, yet melted make appear their solid sides, and robed in rains ye bear across the valley like a falling veil. But night or day, thy ceaseless song to me makes melody and music wild and free, and I rejoice to drink thy breath, for ye do bring the sound and savour of the sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The New Light by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Awake, O world, from thy long sleep, arise, for a new light breaks in reddening skies. Shake off your rust-eaten fetters, ye slaves, and claim the freedom of winds and of waves. Unwind, O unwind all the swathing clothes of bondage and ignorance, nations' woes. Break the dark might of enchantment's spell, burst all thy bonds and the chorus swell. Kindle on every high hill a clear fire, plant in the cities, on tower and spire, the banner of freedom. Wide let it wave over sea and land, and over the grave of buried oppression and chains decayed of tyrant's power, till the ghost shall be laid of fraud and violence, bloodshed and war. And burned in the flame of freedom's fair star, all wrong shall be dust and ashes on earth. Dead leaves from whose death shall spring a new birth, which shall spread and grow like a fruitful tree, and under its branches shall live the free. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hymn of Free Peoples by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Hymn of Free Peoples. O kindreds, peoples strong, that earth's large arms enfold, against the powers that work you wrong, in common cause make bold. From north, from east and west, beneath the southern star, in bonds of slavery oppressed, in cruel arms of war. From east and south and north, from desert cities' shade, from living tombs of toil come forth, where rich man's gold is made. From north, from west and east, O starved and meagre fed, be gathered to the equal feast the earth for all hath spread. Beneath life's healing tree, truth's fountains crystal flow. Let all the nations kindred be, the joy of life to know. And let each soul rejoice, who in that meat is strong, and hunger stayed, let heart and voice be filled with a new song. For freedom, like the sun, hath risen on the world. This hour a new age is begun, a stainless scroll unfurled. Old things have passed away, the curse of gold and gore, the law of love all peoples sway, and war shall be no more. No more to joyless toil shall labor's hands be chained, no more shall fraud have power to spoil man's equal rights regained. One hope, one joy, one light, united all men know, and from all lands with gathering might the voice of truth shall go, and far and wide proclaim, defying tyrant's ban, writ in all hearts like tongues of flame, the brotherhood of man. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
"12 Sonnets of Love, 1 through 6, by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org. 1. Love's Sanctuary. No more I go to worship with the crowd in Christian temples, pagan now to me. No dim cathedral hears me pray aloud. I sing no credo, as it used to be. Though kneeling not beneath the roof of Rome, or in protesting fanes, I have a shrine, a holiest of holies, love's sweet home, on whose white altar lies life's bread and wine. There oft, in saddened times and weary hours, to secret sanctuary do I flee, where one sweet presence soothes like breath of flowers, to whom their incense rises ceaselessly. For there, though not a Roman devotee, sweet Virgin Mary, I do worship thee. 2. Love's Heraldry. I gave to thee at parting, dear, a rose encrimsoned with the hue of love's warm lips, but yet it faded when compared to those wherefrom my soul unfailing honey sips. And thou didst plant it in the snowy lawn, which veiled the pure treasures of thy breast, as when we see o'er earth by winter drawn, the white sky covering in spotless rest. Warm gules on argent, like a blazoned field, the hues of life and death in red and white, a fair device for any knightly shield, nor needing motto to proclaim its might. Henceforth I bear it on my battle crest, till in thine arms from life's alarms I rest. 3. The Solace of Love. In my heart's chamber, cold in day's white glare, sat Love, disconsolate, with tattered wings, and brooding on the memory of lost things, that erst made glad those walls so wan and bare. Came Hope then unto him, and bade him look upon the brightness of the cloudless hours, and on the buds of yet unopened flowers. But Love, being blind, all blank was nature's book. Sleep came to him, and would have brought him peace, but dreams awoke desire, whose torturing flame made worse his case, and left him agony. Till one with wreathed brows, for his release, unto his fingers gave a stringed frame, and then Love wept, and sang his pain to thee. 4. Passion Music. The air grows faint within the shrine of love, and from his altar rose leaves fall away, as smoke of incense dims the dying day that crimsons on the golden roof above. But slowly stealing, soon the organ plains, with choiring voices in a tender song, which shakes my soul as with a tempest strong, still as the music rolleth on refrains. Now lifted light upon melodious wave, my spirit rises on each beating wing, that near unto the gates of bliss me bring. Full soon cast down and bowed by thunder tones, he falls upon the ground, and weeps and moans. Such madness doth love's votaries enslave. 5. Love's anchorite. Love's anchorite, within my lonely cell, his breviary I learn you every day, and Aves to my sainted Mary say, as all my rosary I careful tell. While on thy picture, sweet, my fond eyes dwell, or rapt upon thy treasured story pore, which ending leaves me yet to hunger more, and still athirst to seek again the well. Yet all love's calendar I follow through, and each fair day, where memory shows thy sign, keep holy unto thee in prayer and song, so every season brings to thee its due. But while thy table's set with corn and wine, fasting I keep love's Lenten tide so long. 6. Love's garden. In my heart's garden, winter dark and bare, love sought for flowers to make a wreath for thee, which, since the sun was gone, he scarce might see in all the waste, and time was gardener there, who yet a little bloom will hardly spare, but with remorseless hand still prunes away, and still his scythe he sharpeneth every day, so love was left with empty hands to fare. Till hope had led him to a little well, that in this desert kept a joyful spot, made sapphire with the eyes of flowers love knew, as though from heavenly seed their harvest grew, that soon into his reaping fingers fell, which bring you these, sweet, sweet forget-me-not. End of poems. This recording is in the public domain. 12 Sonnets of Love, 7 through 12, by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org. 7. Love's Solitude. Filled with the breath of love, my soul knows change throughout its troubled region day by day, still as the breaking fire upclimbs its way from scarlet dawn through fervent noon to range, until the fainting eve, grown wan and pale, swoons in the arms of close embracing night that putteth forth her spells of dreamful might and sweet enchantments, till the starry veil is cloven by the gleaming shafts of morn, ascending new with all his glittering train to bring me peace, or strange tempestuous pain, or soft wind singing in the sacred grove that keeps thy shrine, and where I talk with love, watching the far-off sea whence hope is born. 8. Love's Hope. Joy, like the flashes of a fitful sun, falls on my storm-worn heart, and kindling dies in wandering gleams about the changeful skies, cloud-built, with tempest towers and wind undone, for winds make desolate the day begun, wild on my path that climbs a bleak green hill among the writhen thorns, oft traversed, chill with the breath of March, until the ridge is won, wherefrom I think to gain some hopeful sign, as range mine eyes the saddened landscape round, that keeps my soul's white house, whence I return with thoughts that may not utterly repine, but hearing even in the strong wind's sound the shout of coming spring, which makes me burn. 9. Love's Doubt. Doubt, hope, and fear, all day within my breast, have clanged in cruel war where none prevail, though their fierce cries have rent the sacred veil, when in love's sanctuary I sought to rest. Since brazen morn awoke this wild alarm, so have they striven long with clashing swords of two-edged thought, since fell the words upon my soul from herald lips of harm, whose message strange a fiery hand impressed in charactery that burns my mazed sight, yet loud with iron hands they tear and smite, but through the cloud of strife I see hope's crest rise loftier, and his voice above the rest grows calm and clearer with the falling night. 10. Love's Garland. Young love with rosy wings came through a mead, whereon before the feet of spring had gone, along a slender brook that wound and shone by stems made bright with blooms of fruitful deed. He gathered as he went of such fair seed as spring upon her grassy ways had sown, and in his fingers wove a garland crown that faded not, or drooped, or died for need. Full soon the stream had brought him to a space of orchard green, where maidens sweet were met with time's frail gifts around his dial stone, and these among thou sat'st in such sweet grace, that seeing thee, love on thy dear head set his magic wreath, and crowned thee on my throne. 11. Love's Arrows. I saw young love make trial of his bow in May's green garden, where he shot his dart, nor recked if any nigh beheld his art, but other eyes did mark him, as I know. For my sweet lady sat anear his throw, and I with her, and joined heart to heart, so that we might not feel the bitter smart love leaveth there when time doth force us go. We heard love's arrows falling in the grass, or watched them quiver in the targe below, yet few to us came nigh, nor might they pass beyond our feet, which trembled when they came, whose hearts were not the quarry for his aim, that in love's chase fell stricken long ago. 12. Love's Harvest. I stand to gaze across the year's long fields that have the tinge of autumn, and their gold gathered by careful hours on lea and wold, rich spoils of time that he to love upyields, who yet amid fair corn his sickle wields, though harvest's done and summer groweth old. Well-stored barns and orchards he doth hold, whose wealth against the steely winter shields. Unto my feet the days, like full-eared sheaves, have fallen one by one, time-bound, and born to be the bread of love through barren days. E'en such dear heritage the sweet year leaves, and life to live again love's night and morn, whose light thou art, whose glory is their praise. End of poems. This recording is in the public domain.
Part 2, Later Poems. Herald of Spring by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Sweet bird, what makes thee glad? Beneath the sky so wan and sad, and leafless poplars thin and gray, bowed down before the wintry sway, what tuneful thought of days gone by doth make thee sing? Or knowest thou why thy soul is lifted up, sweet bird? Or dost thou hear spring's voice unheard of earth that sleeps, nor dreaming minds, the herald blast of trumpet winds that make old winter's fortress quail, and force him cast his coat of mail? What secret bower thy shape doth keep? Close hidden by the buds that sleep, thy voice, the firstling bloom that blows, breaks joyful through the wintry boughs that bear thy song of promise meet for happy hours when lovers greet, when every leaf-lorn tree shall bear flower, fruit, and song upon the air, and summer's choir is full and gay, the soft winds on the sun's feast day. Sweet bird, as thou dost sing, my soul doth partly catch the speechless whole of joyful pain that lifts the wings of thy sequestered music. Things remembered half and half forgot, of sight or sound or sense begot, confused in love's ambrosial streams, and hidden in the house of dreams. As frail sweet scent of flowers that hold past time and days in some book's fold, which when the leaves are turned again doth warm like wine the wintry brain. O bird, thy heart doth sing in me, I hear what thou dost hear. I see upon a high green land untrod of men, upon the flower wrought sod, the feet of Spring, and her bright throng break from the woods with shout and song. Soft piping winds with pleasant cheer before her go, her path to clear. Sweet maids come with her, and behind, light footed is the lifting wind. Some bear her canopy on high, and warm gleams gild it from the sky. Some strew with flowers the flower strewn ground, some bind them garlands, some are bound. And still, with all happy rout, fleet little loves wind in and out. Some hide in maiden's fluttering weed, and ply their pretty arts, nor heed while wilful gusts make sport, like them, with mantles fold and garments hem. Or some, more bold, soft vengeance wreak on lifting hair and glowing cheek, but scarce the wood hath set them free. Some forceful sprite in winter's fee to snatch Spring's garland would make bold, whom shrill the shrinking maids do scold. Until the sun, their champion bright, doth drive aback the wintry night, whose wild assault being overthrown, far in the woodland makes he moan, and gentle Spring with all her train doth hold high court on earth again. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Thoughts in a Hammock by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Thoughts in a Hammock. Rocked as in some fairy boat, by swift fancy set afloat, twixt the oceans blue and green, of grass beneath, and sky serene, where the streams of dusk and day meet and mingle far away, on the universal tide, still with time and life to glide. Boat that, pendant mid the trees, swingeth moored, yet sails the seas. Stem and stern, from east to west, bound upon an unknown quest, past the marge of night and day, blanched or strewn with starry spray. By the oar strokes of the blood glides the shallop of my mood, on the windings of the flood, shadowed by the summer wood. Dusk with dreams yon leaves that play with the falling blooms of May. Like the web the fates do spin, helpless man to cradle in, hung with life upon a thread, here I swing, and over my head maze of apples, boughs, and leaves, meshed wherein my thought enweaves tapestry, phantasmic, strange, shot with shifting dyes of change. So my shallow bark and frail spreads a rich emblazoned sail, filled, as now the summer breeze fans my brain and stirs the trees, where a hidden heart of fire strives the moon in her desire still to pierce the leafy fret, her celestial seat to get. Cynthia's self that silver shape, boskage dark, she doth escape, long her gleaming body hid, forth from its embraces slid, doth naked, glorious emerge upon the lucent starry verge. Let me linger in the wood, hear the sound of pipings rude, watch the shapes of nymph and fawn, centaurs fleet across the lawn, satyrs brown in rhythmic dance, by the stream great Pan, perchance, hidden in the vocal reed, all the happy antique breed. I would turn again the book, yet again to steal a look back to where time's firstling ran, arboreal ancestral man, wooing shy his dusky mate, wild-eyed, half-articulate, in his rude canoe, askance, see him poise his flint-tipped lance, flashing in the ardent noon o'er the sedgy broad lagoon, when Thames reeds the river hoarse, crushed in his unconscious force. Swinging on the pendant bough, had the sweet content enow, basking in the primal sun, recked he how his race should run? How for forest night of trees, cities spreading, dense as these, where the shade of gilded pride, starved and savage man, should hide, human vampires, hawks and flies, gliding snakes and lustrous eyes, dainty beauty, plumaged fair, hollow masks for smiling care, hopeless toil that smileth not, misery untold, forgot, where the throng of fashion flaunts, where in dark unwholesome haunts lurks a darker race to prowl desert streets when night doth scowl, desert stony streets and bare, neath a strange electric glare, fiery eyed to track them down, homeless on the heartless town. Ah, could early man or late set his ways or nature's straight, who life's stream doth careless pour, lets the cup brim o'er and o'er. Who will drink, or drinking dream, with the chosen skim the cream, struggle with the ravening swine for residue or helpless wine, Lazarus at Dives' gate dives at his feast of state, rising with a hungry heart, as one by one life's guests depart. Could we chain those monsters up, that on human lives do sup, shameless lust of rule and gold, lawless greed grown overbold, vice and drink with palsied hand, riding down the joyless land? Then, if humanity could be from these and other tyrants free, to win its bread, to win, I wot, vine and fig, and breathing plot, joy in work and joy in leisure, love and art to fill life's measure, force and fraud might vainly rage, to see, new born, the golden age. Sailing thus, as thought does steer, with the moon through cloud and clear, fancy fluttering at the prow, sirens singing soft and low, from the opal shores and streams, where they dye the cloth of dreams, from the present and the past, have I touched the land at last, voyaging the world around, yet anchored still to English ground. June 1884. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Sirens Three Dedicatory Sonnet by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org by Laurie Wilson. To William Morris. The Mage and Nigh Shapur in English tongue beside the northern sea, I, wandering, read, with chaunt of breaking waves each verse was said, till storm possessed my heart in answer sung, and to the winds my ship of thoughts I flung, and drifted wide upon the ocean dread Of space and time, ere thought and life were bred, till hope did cast the anchor, and I clung. The Book of Omar saw I limned in gold, and decked with vine and rose and pictured pause, inwrought by hands of one well skilled and bold in art and poesy and freedom's cause, hope of humanity and equal laws. To him and to this hope be mine enscrolled. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Sirens Three, stanzas 1 through 20, by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. 1. Lost on a sleepless sea, without a veil my soul's ship drifted wide, with idle sail and slow pulsating oars, that night's blue gulf beat noiselessly to time's recurring tale. 2. The rolling hours like waves broke, one by one, upon the tide of thought time's sands outrun, and cloudy visions hovered o'er my bed, piled to the stars, full soon like cloud undone. 3. As, like the wan moon through her fleecy sea, my spirit clove their wrack unceasingly, and struck at last upon an unknown ground, more still than sleep, more strange than dreamlands be. 4. The echoes of lost thoughts wild music made, like sirens, heard above the winds that played, above the rhythmic waves' tumultuous tone, upon the hollows of that coast decayed. 5. Yea, on the strand they stood, the Sirens Three, no more, and golden now, and dark to be, whose vocal harps are love, and hope, and grief. To these they sang, and waved their hands to me. 6. Who thence unto the shore, escaping, clung, as from the dread insatiate ocean's tongue that lapped the barren sand, and evermore, above its vain recoil, the sisters sung. 7. Prone on that unknown land, outcast, forlorn, my soul lay, watching for the eyes of morn, as from a dying universe adrift, a naked life, to what dim world new born? 8. All former things had passed, the sea's salt tears from youth's frail ship had washed false hopes and fears, and relics, treasured once, bestrewed the sand, wrapped in the clinging weed the sea maid wears. 9. The bodies of lost faith and love, outcast, spurned by the waves, and clinging to the mast, were flung upon the shore, mid drift and wreck. Time's fragile shells, which frailer lives outlast. 10. As at the world's end left, the last of men, or ere the first was sphered beyond his ken, was I, mid tumbled cosmic fragments cast, a babe at play within a mammoth's den. 11. Mid bones of power extinct, and its lost prey, with shreds and shards of unknown primal day, the formless future and the past forgot, the broken statue and the sculptor's clay. 12. The blue breast bird of space his fan outspread, and shook the starry splendor o'er my head, a wood of eyes that wonder at the world, glassed in the world's eyes' wonder, scanned and read. 13. Each burning orb that did the sky emblaze upon my spirit lone cast piercing gaze, world beyond world enringed, and suns aflame shot from night's spangled cloud their storm of rays. 14. As doth the glass to one bright point intense draw the sun's fervor to our shrinking sense, so on my soul the concentrated fire of countless suns that moment did condense. 15. My brain, an instant's atlas, seemed to bear the universe immense, and all its care, for thought's frail arms intolerable weight, since nature's triumph still is man's despair. 16. Untilled, unknown, the trackless regions spread which thought, belated wanderer, doth tread, where, like river flashing through the night, the Milky Way its myriad star foam shed. 17. Cast from what vital source, what teeming brain? By blind persistent force from fiery rain? Suns, moons, and stars, transmuted, globed and hung, the dew of space upon its blue campaign. 18. Trod by the feet of time, as he doth go, a laborer night and morn to reap and sow. Who counts the glittering drops, the spheres that fall, or marvels they should hold such weight of woe? 19. Each drop a desert, or a battle ground of life in its arena ringed around, where without quarter wears the endless war, till death the hunter slips his famished hound. 20. Here, circling with the horses of the sun, man's fateful race from day to day is run, Bound in this narrow ring, his crown, his grave Still as the world for each is lost or won. End of stanzas 1 through 20. This recording is in the public domain. The Sirens Three, stanzas 21 to 40, by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. 21. Then, like a homeless one, my spirit turned for shelter 'neath the roofless void, and, spurned from the star desert to the stony one, scanned the dark waste where yet no hearth fire burned. 22. But through the veil of night, around me there, rose towering shapes clothed in the voiceless air, like kings enthroned amid their power's decay, statue and ruined shrine and temple bare. 23. Dolmen and sphinx and Greek or Gothic fane, the shattered caskets of man's winged brain, whose flight hath left them empty, desolate, sublime in ruin on the crumbling plain. 24. The perished bodies frail that once did house his restless soul, and heard his sacred vows to his own likeness, dressed in speech or stone, ere he forswore them for some fairer spouse. 25. He sought for truth, and cried, "Where dost thou dwell?" 10,000 tongues replied, but none could tell. They held their peace, and then the stones did cry, "Lo, Truth sits naked by the wayside well." 26. She sitteth naked since they drove her out From babble of the creeds to wastes of doubt. There hath she wandered long in dens and caves, Through custom's winter, and through reason's drought. 27. They would have cloaked her as a shameful thing, Force brought her chains, and fraud a marriage ring, But Truth, affrighted, fled the market place Where lies were coined in gold, and craft was king. 28. And still she flies from sacred fount, and school, When man defiles, or doth his kind befool. And still they wait, the halt, the lame, the blind, Though Truth, the angel, troubleth not the pool. 29. A wandering spirit in this street of tombs, I sought her yet who still to travel dooms, From hostel unto hostel, o'er the waste, Her votaries the fitful lamp illumes. 30. But ere the dawn stood trembling at night's gate, Dark as the night, I reached a portal great, Wide to the homeless wind, defaced and bare, While yet it spake of power and antique state. 31. Of pillared hall and chambers large and fair, Which thought and art had carven and made rare, As life by life was laid with stone on stone, Or flowed through marble veins the beams to bear. 32. And flowered aloft in capital and frieze, As roof and wall high rose with years' increase, Withal did slow decay still gild and stain, Or like a stealthy robber climbed to seize. 33. Strange lights from windows glared, and stranger sound Of mingled mourners' grief and revel round, Sad discords from a world's disorder rung, With music broke upon the desert bound. 34. A fountain in the forecourt sullen slept, One wintry tree beside it, wind beswept, And shorn of its last leaves, which strewed the stone, Like one above the water, drooped and wept. 35. And at the threshold on the shattered stair, In raiment sad one sate as cloaked in care. There too her sister shape in vernal green, the lintel old did hang with garlands fair. XXXVI Who, then I would have cried, art thou that weep? And why with mourning festal garlands heap? Why thus, though kindred are your hearts in twain, O sisters weird this magic house who keep? XXXVII This magic house so fair, so disarrayed, What god, what demon first its foundings laid? Who thus its treasure to oblivion casts, Still hungering at the gate but never stayed? XXXVIII And I was answered ere my thought found tongue, As pealing from the gate their voices rung, Like wailing harp and voice together heard, With ear intent upon their speech I hung. XXXIX Let no man ask, but he who doth not shrink To stand at gaze upon thought's giddy brink, Where breaks the endless sea, and ebbs and flows The tides of life and death that time doth drink. XL Time's very house is this, his daughters we, Ruin and renovation thou dost see, That sweep or garnish, and its chambers fit For grief or joy, or whatso guests may be. End of stanzas 21 through 40. This recording is in the public domain. The Sirens Three, stanzas 41 through 60, by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. 41. Pillared and roofed it is with nights and days, and windows gemmed in gold, or azure space, its table spread with earths for fast or feast, between birth's gate and death's where all find place. 42. Close curtained both with mystery and pain, O'erwrought with costly tears and heart-hued stain, And love the windows dim hath painted o'er With dreams of dear delight, that wax and wane. 43. From morn to eve, as through the glowing glass, His vital sun transfigures, as they pass, Those visionary joys, and hopes, and fears, That mask life's face, a dream itself, alas! 44. But ere they ceased a fairer one forth came, With cup of welcome, and with torch aflame, In floating raiment soft and radiant hair, And thus she sang, each captive sense to claim. 45. Dream on, O soul, or sleep and take thy rest, The feast is spread however late the guest. Let passion drug the cup with secret fire, Till torturing thought be slain on pleasure's breast. 46. Where all are masked thy mask shall be thy face, Call for the best life gives, and take thy place At time's long hostel board. Cast off thy care, and rest you merry in Dame Fortune's grace. 47. Vex not thy soul until the reckoning day, Though life be but the least thou hast to pay. Stand not too late on pleasure's foaming brink, Nor yet, with sightless eld, outsit the play. 48. Time is thine host, and, ere the day grows old, To thee his story strange he shall unfold, Writ in a half obliterated scroll, But pictured fair, and graven deep, behold! 49. As though a new Pandora raised the lid, And let life's mystery escape unbid, Broke sudden on my sight a wonder show, As through the portal dark I gazed, close hid. 50. E'en like as one who sits expectant, dumb, At gaze before some world's proscenium, When rolls the curtain from the painted stage, To see life's play, past, present, and to come. 51. The drama of the earth before me rolled, The war of good and evil, new and old, The fight for very life, for space, for air, The sum and cost of being still untold. 52. Since when Time's brooding bird did patient sit Upon her sphered egg, the world, to wit, Potent with life in ocean, earth, and air, Ere ever fawn or flower did people it. 53. Since when from countless germs life's tree did grow, From writhing worms about its roots below, From dragon shapes that clasp its fossil stem, To bear love's fruit and human flowers a row. 54. Where thought's winged kind among its branches dwell, Still fertilized by beauty's potent spell, Cast and recast in nature's supple mold, Through death and change, and birth's transforming cell. 55. 'Twas pictured here with boughs outspread through space, Blossomed with stars upon the sky's swart face, With globing worlds for fruit, that cool or glow As night and day, like leaves their shadows chase. 56. Out of the dream of ages, sleeping fast, Out of the dim and unrecorded past, Out of the caverns of uncounted time, In life's dark house man saw the sun at last. 57. Inhuman man, late come unto the birth, Wrapped in the swathing bands of Mother Earth, Long his descent, his pedigree obscure, To his inheritance of strife and dearth. 58. As from the ground the earthworm crawls to light, Speechless and blind from antenatal night, Man rose on earth, the bitter strife began, Man rose on earth, and craft did conquer might. 59. Since cruel nature, careless of her child, Left him an outcast on the worldly wild, Cradled in space, and serpent swathed in time, And rocked to sleep by death, or dream beguiled. 60. I saw him in his cradle at the first, With beasts and savage passions rudely nursed, To snatch uncertain life from nature's hand, Niggard or prodigal through best and worst. End of stanzas 41 through 60. This recording is in the public domain. The Sirens Three, stanzas 61 through 80, by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. 61. He blindly bore the burden of his day With his dumb kindred of the primal clay, Whence drew his blood-brute instincts, fiery lusts, That waste his substance still, and tear and slay. 62. A babbling child he sits upon time's sand, To the mute skies he cries, he would command, Heedless he plays with serpents and with fire, With life, a toy in his unconscious hand. 63. Yet hath he held it from that early day, Though death did ever plot to snatch away, And snared his tottering steps with dangers thick, Prowling in countless shapes beside his way. 64. Sore was the strife, and little was life's boon Between the toiling sun and wasting moon, With lurid pleasures fierce and horrid right, Blind day outworn, the long, long sleep won soon. 65. Still nature, prodigal, did cast his seed O'er frozen sea or burning zone to breed, Where hand or foot could cling, or heart could beat, Man's kind on earth since sprung to flower or weed. 66. The rod of want, the school of bitter need, Taught him life's letters, still so hard to read, Use gave him skill, and skill new sense to use, He bent the bow, he bade the plowshare speed. 67. Bread for his body and his soul he sought, Raiment to cloak him from the cold he bought Of ruthless nature, toiling brain and hand, Past all the gates of death his race he brought. 68. Lo, infant thought and art, man's children fair. First tottering from the cave, his primal lair, Babes in the world's wood wandering to and fro, To touch man's sordid heart, and lift his care. 69. Since the first hunter graved his dirk and horn, Or in the shepherd state was music born, When song lay dreaming in the whispering reed, Ere she discoursed unto the golden morn. 70. Born of life's travail, virtues, sweet, benign, Grew like fair daughters of a race divine, The pillars of man's house, before whose rod Evil and good as twisted snakes untwine. 71. But to his roof had fled pale palsied fear, The child of death and night, but fathered there, And nursed by ignorance beside the hearth, To cloud his house with all her mystic gear. 72. Demon and fetish painted she to scare, And veils against the light did weave and wear. Yea, art and thought, man's firstlings, fain would bind From birth to serve her will, her yoke to bear. 73. So man held hand and foot, a slave behold Between the soldier king and priest of old, By force and fraud bound fast as by two chains. How long, O man, how long shall they thee hold? 74. How long, again I cried, but silence kept Her finger on the lips of hope, still slept Like clouds upon the mountains, dreams untold, And freedom on the tombs of ages wept. 75. Yet, like a watcher by a beacon fire, Amid the lurid gloom and shadows dire, Wrapped in the cloak of darkness, fold on fold, I marked through flames portentous shapes aspire. 76. Slow streamed the progress vast of humankind, Out of the primal dark I watched it wind, Like a full river gleaming towards the sun, Crested with light, but lost in mists behind. 77. I saw the towering crests of ancient state Arise and pass, and bow themselves to fate, Captors of men bound still to conquering time, And in their triumph drawn to death's dark gate. 78. Colossal Egypt on her car rolled by, Dragged by her crowd of slaves, with lash and cry, Who now a slave herself is bought and sold, And buried in the sand her pride doth lie. 79. Athens, supreme with burnished helm and spear, In art and arms and wisdom shining clear, To other hands hath passed the lamp of life, And weep the Muses o'er her sculptured bier. 80. There, clothed as with a robe with power and pride, Great Rome upon her triumph car did ride Over the necks of nations and of men, Unto whose broken wheel still souls are tied. End of stanzas 61 through 80. This recording is in the public domain. The Sirens Three, stanzas 81 through 100, by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. 81. All these I saw, as on time's painted page The figure of man's life from age to age Was figured, like his life of years and hours, And glassed his face, an infant or a mage. 82. In boyhood bright beneath the Grecian sun, I saw him stand, intent his race to run, To touch the golden goal of thought and art, And daring all man since hath dared or done. 83. The apple of his life to Beauty's hand Freely he gave, and she so dowered his land, That still that fond world takes it for her glass, And gazes, leaving knowledge and command. 84. In youth a mystic shadow o'er him fell, He touched the lover's lute beneath the spell, He fought, a knight at arms, for lady's grace, He prayed a monk austere in haunted cell. 85. Till nature roused him from his dreams again, And reason broke the chains which bound him then. New knowledge, power, and beauty filled life's cup, And rolled the round world to his manhood's ken. 86. Yet old before his time he sits, outworn with words and wars, Upon the seat of scorn, Weary of life's vain round, love's fruitless chase, False fortune's whirling wheel, fame's empty horn. 87. For here, in living shape and semblance, Shone the passions and the powers man's soul hath won Through all his ages, like the starry signs Where through life's year revolves the sleepless sun. 88. The pattern and the form of thoughts untold, The book of being wrought in runes of gold, The twisted net that holds all gain and loss, The birth clothes cover, or the shroud doth fold. 89. The moving tapestry of human date, Where lives for threads are crossed in love or hate, Between the narrow beams of dark and day, Time's shifting loom, the toil of threefold fate. 90. At their eternal task the sisters dread, Who spin and weave and shear the slender thread With all its dyes, that doth sustain and fill This tangled web from pole to pole outspread. 91. The arras that doth clothe the house of time, Stained with the hues of all man's bliss and crime, The checkered pageant of the changing earth, Still through its folds doth ever sink and climb. 92. Along the street of days and nights where rolls The world's car onwards and its throng of souls, Like captives in a conqueror's triumph chained, Compelled by fortune's wheel that none controls. 93. The glittering triumph of youth's golden dreams, And ardent manhood in the zenith beams Of love, and fame, and power that guides the car, And slow pulsed eld still warmed in their last gleams. 94. Masked with the maskers in that endless race, The hours go by at grief's or passion's pace, And cloaked alike in poverty or pride, Through all life's masks, Death shows his ashen face. 95. The shadow clinging to the feet of life, As unto day doth cleave his silent wife, Sower and reaper in the self same field, Twin spirits folded in immortal strife. 96. There good and ill, brothers and bitter foes, Do strike the balance of man's joys and woes, And in the traffic of the world's exchange Oft ill as good, and good as evil goes. 97. Two knights that battle for truth's painted targe, With flashing spears upon time's river marge, Where, like the rushing waters, rise their steeds, And crash together in tremendous charge. 98. Their broken harness lies upon time's plain, Their war's receding tide doth cast the slain, As shifts the battle ground from age to age, And earth its grim memorials retain. 99. These things I marked, as in a moving show Before mine eyes life passed through gloom and glow, The trappings and the garniture that decked This house of shadows, still from room to room. 100. Man was, man is, but who shall count the gain, Or measure out the sum of all life's pain? So to the play my thought made interlude, And still to fate's sad music sang refrain. End of stanzas 81 through 100. This recording is in the public domain. The Sirens Three, stanzas 101 through 120. By Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. 101. Man is, but who can count his being's cost? Who metes the water from the pitcher lost? The squandered corn upon the sower's path, cast in time's scale, hath good or ill the most? 102. Each out of Babel answers for himself, as justice he doth love, or gilded pelf. Who in the school of ignorance should read Truth's tattered book on thriftless Nature's shelf? 103. Unlettered children, hopeless to the task, and dumb before life's riddles, still we ask. But labor, soul is answered, patient thought, and science still doth nature make unmask. 104. Ah, what is life? A coin but stamped and cast into time's treasury, counted, weighed, and passed, staked in the fateful race for weal or woe, and gold or silver changed for lead at last? 105. While dread necessity, great nature's nurse, who rules man's way for better or for worse, still watching by death's bed and birth's doth sit to pour life's blessing or to brand its curse. 106. Between the flickering lamps of day and night, cloaked in her age-worn mantle care bedight, behold her shape, inexorable, vast, blind arbitress o'er changeling wrong and right. 107. Who pain and bliss, and passion, hope, despair casts in life's cup, she, cunning, mixes fair, and gives, as to a babe, man's helpless lips, drawing delicious poison unaware. 108. Then what is life? Well, we might ask again. A spirit from the cup that fills the brain With teeming images of love and power, and high desires 'tis impotent to gain. 109. Protean life which man doth vain pursue From youth's green meads to age's mountains blue, The painted fly a breathless child doth chase, Through all its changing shapes, to change but true. 110. This quivering bubble dyed with every stain Of splendor and of passion, why in vain? Ah, why? It sails the summer air, an iridescent moment lost in rain. 111. But still the cup is passed swift as of yore, As life each new come guest doth pledge and pour The priceless wine into the fragile glass, Once to the brim filled up, and filled no more. 112. Some drink with eager thirst, some waste their store, Or drop by drop still watch it shrinking sore, Some, ere the vital juice hath passed their lips, The frail cup shatter on the marble floor. 113. Yet high the feast tide rolled, and those who fell Few missed, nor empty long their place did dwell, For great the press is at earth's table round, And still new streams that company doth swell. 114. Ah, bitter was the strife and hot the breath Of envy, hate, their smiling masks beneath, And baleful fires I saw in beauty's eyes, And rosy ensigns veiled the cheek of death. 115. While grovelled for the crumbs a famished crew, As starved hounds for what man careless threw, On wastrel bread and refuse fain to feed, Or none, as deadlier their struggle grew. 116. For very life at all too dear a cost, As slaves these toiled, while those as counters tossed Their lives for gold, or gold for lives exchanged, Indifferent, so they did win, who lost? 117. For those the roses, and for these the rue, In man's unequal measures paid undue. Some murmured loud, some patient bore their fate, The poor were many, and the rich were few. 118. Most weary of the sordid throng I grew, and thence a little space apart withdrew, weary of life that it this thing should be, nor other lot for man that hope foreknew. 119. So to the portal dark I turned again, and there, as at the first, the sisters twain, she who the fruitless garland hung aloft, she on the shattered stone that wept in vain. 120. But in the forecourt flashed the fountain's stream, the wintry tree beside its glittering beam bore now a cloud of blossom, red and pale, as if bright spring had touched it in a dream. End of stanzas 101 through 120. This recording is in the public domain. The Sirens Three, stanzas 121 through 140, by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. 121. Alone I stood in that still house of time, all swept and bare it was as at the prime, and but the sea wind peopled it with sighs, and heard afar the slow waves' measured chime. 122. I saw Time's shape colossal rising stark against the endless waves, receding dark beneath a rising dawn that never rose upon the sea, where yet would hope embark. 123. Yea, hope arose and drew the painted veil of things that are, and furled it like a sail, and on her gilded prow I stood at gaze on golden sands beyond the morning pale. 124. And from the face of earth were drawn away, like clinging mists that do obscure the day, the shadows and the fears which have oppressed her children long beneath their baneful sway. 125. As new created in her sculpted sphere, I saw her rise again translucent, clear, robed in the kindling splendor of the sun, renascent from the sea of crystal air. 126. That limpid broke on her rejoicing shore, where life's reviving stream welled evermore from nature's fount, through teeming veins that bred man's countless kin from one redundant core. 127. I saw the dragons slain of lust and greed, of gold and power, that waste to serve their need poor human lives, and till earth's fruitful fields with fire and sword and bloody vengeance breed. 128. No more the nations armed did lie and wait, like bandits fierce, to spoil and desolate which each did hold most dear, no dogs of war at tyrant's beck, let loose to maim and bait. 129. No peoples blind by blinder leaders led into the pit of shame, or daily fed like swine on empty husks and sophistries, and frozen custom giving stones for bread. 130. No selfish castes in internecine strife fought like the beasts to win a worthless life, no ruthless commerce cheapened hope and health, or held to slavish throats starvation's knife. 131. No rights usurped against the common good breathed out defiance, and the claims withstood of labor and of life, where all by labor lived, no bonds were there but bonds of brotherhood. 132. No temple gloom obscured the lucent skies, nor incense fume of faith's dead sacrifice, no baneful toil made cities desolate with hellish smoke at morn and eve to rise. 133. No morbid anchorite with famished creed would man persuade to sell his nature's need of joy. No fevered dream of future fate would snatch life's brimming cup, his human meed. 134. Not there blind dogma flung the bitter fruit of discord, burning red, or hate uproot the flower of innocence, or fraud beguiled, or force laid iron hands on man and brute. 135. I saw regenerate man as stainless, free, a child again on Mother Nature's knee, his wistful eyes did scan the starry spheres, his hand outstretched to life's new flowering tree. 136. The ages kneeling at his feet did bear the treasure of their thoughts in caskets rare, the fire tried gold of science and the lore of wisdom, bought with costly toil and care. 137. The thoughts each moment from the quivering brain that spring like flames, or, born with labor pain embodied there I saw, quick thronging spirits fair from whose inwoven wings light fell like summer rain. 138. And each in hand did bear the emblems bright, wherein do art and poesy delight, and mysteries of science hid in time her wands of power and globes of knowledge light. 139. For, more than men, lives man, through death alive, slow moves the progress vast, still cry and strive new hopes, new thoughts for utterance and for act, and use and strength and beauty yet survive. 140. Yea, beauty's image graven on the mind Beats with the pulse of life in life enshrined. Irradiant she moves in love's own flame, and joy with her, and the sweet graces kind. End of stanzas 121 through 140. This recording is in the public domain. The Sirens Three, stanzas 141 through 144, by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Jason in Panama. 141. Like Venus flashing from the lucent sea, or from the earth the flower Persephone, she that was buried, lo, is born again, and time her resurrection brings to be. 142. Daughter of earth yet is not mortal she, though time hath shook the blossoms from her tree, her spring returns, her summer and her fruit, and art by her hath immortality. 143. I saw, I heard no more, for sleep, like rain, fell soft at last upon my restless brain, for sleep in all the pageant made the last, and with her poppies swept mine eyes again. 144. Yea, far upon her wings than I was borne all dreamlessly, till, like a dream, the morn broke on my sense and sight, and swift and loud, day, like a hunter, blew his golden horn. End of stanzas 141 through 144, and end of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Flora's Feast, A Masque of Flowers, by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. The sullen winter nearly spent, Queen Flora to her garden went to call the flowers from their long sleep, the year's glad festivals to keep. And one by one, each making bold Their silken vesture to unfold, and peeping forth to meet the sun, the long procession is begun. The snowdrops, first upon the scene, white crested brave King's frosts amain. The little crocus reaches up to catch a sunbeam in his cup. The daffodil his trumpet blows, and after spring a hunting goes. Anemones rode out the gale, frail windflowers fluttered red and pale. The violet and the primrose dame, with modest mien but hearts aflame, green kirtled from the brooklet's fold, the rustic maid marsh marigold, the lady smocks all silver white, the milkmaids of the meadows bright, where shining buttercups abound among the cowslips on the ground. Here lords and ladies of the wood, with shaking spear and riding hood, black knight at arms, the white plumed thorn, in pomp the crown imperial borne, while tulips lift their banner red, or fill their cups with fire instead. Sweet hyacinths their bells did ring, to swell the music of the spring. With blazoned pennons from each spear, the iris and the flag appear. Sweet masking May, in white or red, her snowy cloud of blossom spread. And Chaucer's daisy, small and sweet, "Ci douce est la marguerite," the little lilies of the vale, white ladies delicate and pale, great peonies in crimson pride, and budding ones in green that hide, fair columbines that drew the car of Venus from her distant star, and love's own flower, the blushing rose, the queen of all the garden close, and roses from the hedgerow wild, behind their thorns that faintly smiled, and from the cressy brook's green side, "Forget me not," a small voice cried. Her stately lilies, pale and proud, in vesture pure as summer cloud, or burning like an orange flame, with torches borne aloft they came. The monk that wears the hood of blue, the bells of Canterbury too, wide ox eyes in the meads that gaze on scarlet poppy heads ablaze, ere evening primrose lights her lamp, a beacon to the garden camp. When lilies of the day are done, and sunk the golden westering sun, fresh pink casts incense on the air, in fluttering garments fringed and rare, their cousin from the corn in blue, corn marigold of golden hue. The fond convolvulus still clings, the honeysuckle spreads his wings. The hollyhock, his standard high, rears proudly to the autumn sky. The blazing sunflower, black and bold, burns yet to win the sunset's gold. That reddening on the Triton's spear foretells the waning of the year, when lilies, turned to tigers, blaze amid the garden's tangled maze, where still in triumph, stiff and gold, the rich chrysanthemums unfold, ere doth the floral pageant close with one last flower, a Christmas rose. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
From Hellas Homeward, section number 25 of Renascence, a book of verse by Walter Crane. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read for LibriVox.org by April 6090, California, United States of America. From Hellas Homeward. From sea to sea our steamer glides. The Adriatic laves her sides. Her engines, deep pulsating, beat a throbbing heart of fire and heat, its freight of human hearts to bear, with good and ill as time doth wear. Still changeful as the changing seas, beneath the wayward winds increase, or like the bird that eastward flies, our thoughts fare backwards with our eyes, which still the blue Aegean holds, round Grecian isles its cincture folds, where on Sunium falls the light, and carves anew the columns white, where the gulf of Nauplia fills the sculptured sides of Argos hills, and through their gates thrown back do show fair gardens rich and trees a row, where yet in waking dreams one sees the apples of Hesperides, with but the gleaming scales between of water in the sunset's sheen, past the twinkling lights that show like stars to mock celestial glow, and light us back to antique ground, to Tyrann's buried ruins found, and Agamemnon's house of old, with treasures of Mycenae's gold, where stands the lion-guarded gate to keep the city's shattered state, among the lonely hills forgot, of ages long as it were not. Hill and dale dissolving glide, as the winged wheels swiftly slide, but Nemean crags that still the legendary echoes fill, or by Corinth's fortress steep, and shattered temple still that keep the record of her ancient fame, her glory passed into a name. What oracle from Delphi hear? What message from Apollo bear? Speaks no more the god of light? Doth he no word to men indite? Yea, day by day his arrow's flight behold! dividing dark and bright, till they strike Athena's fanes, still upon the rock she reigns. Though, alas! her house of state empty is and desolate, fair still her shrine of marble shines, when is the sun like moon defines. With opal lights and shadows blue, that well nigh build the temple new, which day by day o'erlays with gold, as in the sun's bright flame of old. Many a morn and eve have we watched him rise and set at sea. His foaming steeds with tossing crests turn fire the watery way they breast, where dolphins leaping drive the spray before them in their wanton play. What if the ancient gods no more are seen of men on sea or shore? What if a sterner creed and cold did drive them from the temple's fold, or pride of rule, or curse of gold, with wasting care that makes youth old? Do blind men's eyes to all save gain, and beauty please with them in vain, though greed would all the earth degrade, and see the world a market made, and drive the peasant from his soil, and lay the yoke of hopeless toil upon the millions seeking bread, to art and love and beauty dead? Not all has gone while these have hold in some true hearts not bought and sold. Though fallen, Aphrodite's shrines, still through the opal wave she shines, or veiled in light doth sail the blue, where breaks the foam in iris hue, and still from dangerous rocks is heard the siren's song Odysseus feared, far wandering from his sea-girt home in Ithaca across the foam. The same stars shine above his head as watch us on our rocking bed, as turned his thought to child and wife, and homestead dear and pleasant life. So tossing on the houseless seas, sweet thoughts of home our hearts do please. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Rondeau, Beyond the Verge by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Ezwa in Belgium in February 2017. Beyond the verge of night, dost sigh to watch the glow of reddening sky, while sleep the worldlings wrapped in grey of mist and dreams that round them play in semblance of reality? Thought's craggy cliff is steep to try, that walls the future, yet hope's eye doth catch the breaking beacon ray beyond the verge. Now gleam and glance in gold array bright veins on towers that meet halfway, like spears and torches held on high, and flashing as the wind sweeps by. The herald's fleet of that new day beyond the verge. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Rondeau, The Old and New by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Ezwa in Belgium in February 2017. The old and new together meet, around the world, across the street, as neighbors side by side that grew, as friends or foes, as false or true, whose tale the heedless hours repeat. Two stems entwined to part and greet, from one root springing, bitter-sweet with flower and fruitage, seed to strew, the old and new. Since serpents twined, their knowledge knew the heart of man between the two, with clinging hands and winged feet, he stands the sport of time's deceit, the party-colored shield in view, the old and new. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Rondeau Across the Fields by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Across the fields like swallows fly Sweet thoughts and sad of days gone by, From life's broad highway turned away, Like children thought and memory play, Nor heed time's scythe though grass be high. Beneath the blue and shoreless sky Time is but told when seedlings dry By love's light breath are blown like spray Across the fields. Now comes the scent of fallen hay, The flowers bestrew the foot-worn clay, While summer breathes a passing sigh, As westward rolls the day's gold eye, And time with labor ends his day Across the fields. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Rondeau in Love's Disport by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. In love's disport, gay bubbles blown on summer's winds, light freighted flown, a child intent upon delight and painted spheres would keep in sight, dissolved too soon in worlds unknown. Lo, from the furnace mouth hath grown fair shapes as frail with jewelled zone, clear globes which fate might read aright in love's disport. O frail as fair, though in the white of flameful heat with force to fight, art thou by careless hands cast down, or killed where frozen hearts disown the children born of love and light in love's disport. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Rondeau, What Makes the World by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Ezwa in Belgium in February 2017. What makes the world for you and I? A space of lawn, a strip of sky? The bread and wine of fellowship? The cup of life for love to sip? A glass of dreams in hope's blue eye? So let the days and hours still fly, let fortune flout and fame deny, with feathered heel shall fancy trip. What makes the world? The wealth that never in the grip of blighting greed shall heedless slip, when bought and sold is liberty. With worth of life and love gone by, what makes the world? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Rondeau Seed-Time by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Ezwa in Belgium in February 2017. The field is wide, broadcast the seed of human hope and human need, as to and fro, from end to end, the furrows of the world ye wend its legioned hungry mouths to feed. Though lowering o'er the landscape bend the brows of winter, rains descend, and tempest sowings whirlwinds breed, the field is wide. Sowing, ye shall reap indeed golden grain, or grisly weed, or dragon's teeth, that in the end, perchance, in golden ears depend, sunward, as our path doth lead. The field is wide. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Rondeau, A Seat for Three by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Ezwa in Belgium in February 2017. A seat for three, where host and guest may side by side pass toast or jest, and be their number 2 or 3, with elbow room and liberty. What need to wander east or west? A book for thought, a nook for rest, and meat for fasting or for fast, in fair and equal parts to be, a seat for 3. Then give you pleasant company, for youth or eld a shady tree, a roof for counsel or sequest, a corner in a homely nest, free, equal, and fraternally, a seat for 3. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Rondel, When Time Upon the Wing by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by Ezwa in Belgium in February 2017. When time upon the wing a swallow heedless flies, love birds forget to sing beneath the lucent skies. For now belated spring with her last blossom highs, when time upon the wing a swallow heedless flies. What summer hope shall bring to wistful dreaming eyes? What fateful forecast fling before life's last surprise, when time upon the wing a swallow heedless flies? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Book of Hours by Walter Crane, read for LibriVox.org by April 6090, California, United States of America. This Book of Hours. This Book of Hours Love wrought, with burnished letters gold, each page with art and thought, and colors manifold. His calendar he taught to youths and virgins cold. This Book of Hours Love wrought, with letters burnished gold. Love's priceless book is bought, with sighs and tears untold, of votaries who sought his countenance of old. This Book of Hours Love wrought, with letters burnished gold. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Triolet by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. In the light, in the shade, this is time and life's measure. With a heart unafraid, in the light, in the shade, hope is born and not made, and the heart finds its treasure. In the light, in the shade, this is time and life's measure. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. At Shelley's Grave by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Written in the Protestant Cemetery, Rome, April 11th, 1872. Tread softly. Here the heart of Shelley lies, his grave a garden 'neath the cypress wood, stirred with the tongues his spirit understood, and spake in deathless song that vivifies men's souls made heavy with the sad world's cries. Still, where the darkness hides the dragon brood of evil, and while yet innocent blood is shed, and truth and falsehood change their dyes, thy voice is heard above the silent tomb, and shall be heard until the end of days, while freedom lives, and whatsoever things are good and lovely, still thy spirit sings, and by thy grave today fresh violets bloom, but on thy head imperishable bays. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Voice of Spring by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. I heard the voice of spring. I saw her look out of the naked wood, and on the green traced the frail pattern of her steps unseen toward winter's house, which he this day forsook. There she hath turned the leaves of time's sad book, seeking the songs well nigh forgotten clean by faltering birds in winter's dark domain, or borne by bitter winds that none may brook. Art thou so near, and we still all unmeet to give thee welcome, due with service clear from dull world's slavery and sordid taint, the soil and rust of cities, spirits faint? O fill us with new life and give us cheer, whom life's best gifts, art, love, and freedom greet. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Day in Early Spring by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Thou art the bride of light, most glorious morn, issuing to meet thy Lord, thy crystal gate flung wide by flame-winged hours, where he doth wait till from thy face the ethereal veil be torn, clothed in white splendor, and thy train upborne by silken-handed airs in fluttering state, with piping minstrels joyful in thy fate, and still before thee heard Spring's herald horn. Thy silver feet have touched the sparkling grass, where flowers are stars of light from heaven's blue dome, dropped in the noiseless night to pave thy floor. So, like a splendid vision, thou dost pass between the pillars of the sun's bright home, drawn in time's pageant to return no more. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Night in May by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. From eve's lit casement turns reluctant day, a lingering lover, dreaming of delights unseen, unknown, with summer scents and sights scarce whispered through the modest green of May, who yet beneath the dusk would kiss and play, with mingled softness of mysterious lights, with hidden sweets the silent hour requites, ere from the west he sinks to night away. But on the still gray eve what glory breaks, a glowing sphere between the trembling trees, as though the wondering world returning sees a silvern sun, a softer day that makes, ere this departs and his last song doth cease, with his last breath that night's enchantment takes. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Illusions by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. I stooped to drink of life's enchanted stream, from fair green meads and flowery marge of youth, athirst for love, for fame, and sight of truth, and dreaming as I drank, all life did seem fair as the pageant of a lover's dream that hides the grim and sordid world uncouth. Till time and change came by that know not ruth, and grief was left to watch hope's flickering beam. So from the bitter world I turned again, to work, to sleep, but as in sleep I lay, truth touched me, and hope said to me, "Arise!" Whom, waking, I beheld as visions vain, as dream beguiled one looks with clouded eyes upon the breaking morn, nor knows it is the day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On the Suppression of Free Speech at Chicago by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org. With stifled voice who crieth from the west, where sinks the ensanguined sun of freedom, erst that spread her stainless wings, and sheltering nursed from out all lands the hunted and oppressed. America, shrink not from thy new guest, for liberty was thine, for best and worst. How should her seed upon thy land be cursed, till her false friends as traitors stand confessed? Doth freedom dwell where ruthless kings of gain, like stealthy vampires, still on labor feed? still free to toil or starve on plenty's plain? Then what of labor's hope, the will to be equal, fraternal, knowing want nor greed, shrined in a people's heart when states are free? June 1886. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Freedom in America by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org. Where is thy home, O freedom? Have they set thine image up upon a rock to greet all comers, shaking from their wandering feet the dust of old world bondage, to forget the tyrannies of fraud and force, nor fret, where men are equal, slavish chain unmeet, nor bitter bread of discontent to eat, here where all races of the earth are met? America, beneath thy banded flag of old, it was thy boast that men were free to think, to speak, to meet, to come and go. What meaneth then the gibbet and the gag held up to labor's sons, who would not see fair freedom but a mask, a hollow show? October 7th, 1887. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To the Prisoners of Liberty by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org. John Burns and R.B. Cunningham Graham, who suffered for a brave attempt to maintain the right of free speech and public meeting in Trafalgar Square. What robe of honor doth the prison hide? What glory lines its stony cell and bare, that erst its tenants forth in triumph fare? Bondsmen for freedom, and the right denied by fraud and force in legal masque that bide, alike on Irish ground or London square, with violent hands on those henceforth to bear the crest of battle on the people's side. What, must ye learn the lesson still so late, that they who suffer for the common good stone walls confine not, and no chain doth hold? Blind tyranny, whom these, like men, withstood, whose tenfold force flings back the iron gate, whose names upon the reddening morn are scrolled. February 22nd, 1888. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Reminiscent. Read for LibriVox.org by Amy Gramour. Through seas of light above the opal blue, across the Adriatic sped our ship, her long wake trailing towards the ocean's lip, far from the isles of Greece, in our fond view, a vision bright that all our thoughts imbue, which from the book of days may never slip, but in the golden haze of memory dip, and its fresh youth continually renew. It was my fortune late to tread upon the marble stairs of Athens' sacred steep, to see its columned gate in moonlight sleep beneath the shadow of the Parthenon, fair still in ruin, though well time might weep for Pallas fallen and her glory gone. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Of Hellas Dead. Read for LibriVox.org by Amy Gramour. Mid wrecks of Hellas dead in marble state, whose relics whiten still Aegean's shore, gold, treasures of kings, art's precious ore, cast up by time's slow waves to us so late, it reached me then these things to meditate. How fell such pillared state? How lost its lore? What palsy touched the hand? What ate the core of ancient life? Why Hellas met such fate? And so methought of nations now that sail upon the wings of commerce and of gold, with new-found force electric, iron and steam, to yoke fierce nature's neck. Shall these avail to save us, or our toil-wrung wealth redeem, if freedom fair and justice lose their hold? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Hammersmith Choir by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Sweet voices broke my sleep on Christmas morn, Clear through the moonlit air their anthem rung, Of human hope and fellowship that sung, A mass for souls not dead but yet new born, A herald blast on freedom's silver horn, At dayspring on the brooding darkness flung, With tidings of new joy in tuneful tongue. The marching song of workers, travel worn, As one in dreams I heard, and wondering rose, E'en as the shepherds marvelling of old To hear the angels quiring, and my blood Quickened to catch at last their stirring close, And so my heart took hope and courage good In thought of days to be in time untold. Christmas, 1888. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Renascence by Walter Crane. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Art once an outcast in a wintry land, Far from the sun-built house where she was born, Did wander desolate and laughed to scorn By eyeless men who counted gold like sand, Nor any soul her speech would understand. A friendless stranger in the city lorn, Toil grimed and blackened with the smoke upborne Of human sacrifice, of brain and hand. Then Art aweary laid her down and slept Beneath an ancient gate, and dreaming smiled, For hope, like spring, came full of tidings good, And labor, huge and free, and brotherhood Led her between them like a little child In time new born, to glad new life that leapt. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of Renascence, a book of verse by Walter Crane.